welcome to Blue Jays Today, where your boys always have something to say with the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog.
And I'm your host, Adam Peddle, and today we're going to be looking at the most overrated MLB teams coming into the 2023 season. Now, these are based on some over-under win totals and what we think the teams are actually going to do for this upcoming season. Before we get to guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. All right, Nick, so first team on this, let's get right into it. We've got the most active team, one of the most active teams I'd probably say in this offseason, and that is the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, man.
Being one of the most overrated.
Well, it's about this period in time, right? After kind of the offseason has finished and in between the actual season starting, that we all just go a little crazy, I think. And we see what the narrative has been throughout the offseason, and we think that it's automatically going to translate to the regular season, and all those big moves that you made are going to translate automatically to a bunch of W's. Now, I will say this. I saw a ridiculous graphic come out the other day talking about the amount of WAR that the Texas Rangers gained.
The most.
They literally did buy, this is what they bought and what they traded for this offseason, 9.9 WAR.
That's insane.
That is how much WAR they gained if you just look at the WARs of last season. So that is freaking awesome, and credit where credit is due. You guys kicked ass, and I do absolutely think that you're going to be way more competitive this year than you have in several years past.
100%.
However, all of that being said, they have the Texas Rangers over-under right now set at 82.5. That's more than the Twins. That's more than the Giants. That's just shy of the White Sox and the Brewers and all that stuff. And when you look at last season's standings, the Texas Rangers won 68 games.
Yeah.
So if I'm just going off of the amount of WAR that you gained,
Right.
10, the math doesn't actually add up. You know, it doesn't add up. And you think about the guys on their team, I don't know, freaking DeGrom and Eovaldi and John Gray. Older dudes who are not unfamiliar with injury.
Yeah, and my big thing, look, if everything clicks with the Texas Rangers, this team could be dominant.
It could be very good.
I mean, let's stay on the conversation of this rotation. Obviously, DeGrom, when healthy, the best pitcher in baseball. Martin Perez had an incredible season last year. One for the ages, one for his career. John Gray could be really good at times. Eovaldi's had a good long career. Heaney bouncing back, having an incredible one season last year. So this is why I want to put a big asterisk here.
Yeah.
Heaney, Eovaldi, Gray, Perez, they are all prone to a bad year.
Sure.
For, 4 ERA, sometimes even a 5 ERA, right? DeGrom, prone to injury the last few seasons, has not stayed healthy. So that's a big question mark, and it's not as rock solid reliable. So I think people are rating that rotation based on pure health and the best expectations.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, man. If all these guys hit their ceilings and are healthy the whole time, this team's going to be unstoppable.
Oh, 100%.
But I mean, you could literally say that about every single sports team ever, right?
Yep,
well, if all these guys do what they're supposed to do and are on the field the whole time, we'll win the World Series. Yeah,
exactly.
Duh. But it's really difficult to do that. Looking at the lineup, man, now I like a lot of what they've done here. Obviously, Marcus Semien is very good. Corey Seager is very good. Nathaniel Lowe, criminally underrated.
Very good.
Adolis Garcia is very good. Jonah Heim's pretty good at baseball. Robbie Grossman, you just picked up.
Yep.
Right? It's
Young's pretty good.
Yeah,
they're all pretty good.
They have a lot of guys here, but we haven't seen them click yet. We haven't actually seen it happen. So I understand why a lot of people are high on these Texas Rangers. I'm pretty high on them. I think I'm probably overrating them. But considering they only won 68 games last year, it is very difficult to make a jump of 15 games in the MLB. That's what the over-under is. And that's just the over-under, right?
Yeah.
You could think that they're going to do better than that. You could think that they're going to win 86 or 87 games, right? That's a jump of 20 games.
It's a pretty hard thing to do, not only just in baseball, but I think in sports in general. Maybe less so for NBA. It's pretty easy to buy a team in the NBA because you can just get superstars and take up the whole field. But for the MLB, it's hard to buy a team because you got 26 players, and a big part of this team that they really did not address is that bullpen, guys. I mean, you look at these projected ERAs, this doesn't instill me with any confidence. They might get a lot of runs. They might hold you down, but who's going to give it up in the end? Is it going to be Hearn? Is it going to be Danny Duffy? Is it going to be Hernandez? I don't know.
Yeah.
These guys are not guys that jump out at me as lockdown bullpen guys. And we've seen it for time and time again with the Phillies, with the Blue Jays, who have good rotations, good offense. But who gives it up in the end? It's the bullpen. So that is something that's going to need to be addressed, the next step for these Texas Rangers.
I agree, man. I think that the Rangers are absolutely going to take a step this season.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
don't see any
I agree.
reality where they win only 68 games. But I think that looking at this squad, if I had to attribute a number to them, I think that we're looking closer to like the 77 win mark than the,
close.
like 83, 84, 85 sort of thing. Like,
Yeah.
I think you take a good step and you're going to be very positive going into 2024, but I don't know if you're going to be 100% in that conversation quite yet.
Yeah, and I know that they're playing their division less this year, but you still got the Houston Astros you're going to play a bunch. You've got the Mariners you're going to play a bunch. You're going to face some more teams in the West, in the NL side of things that are going to be very competitive. So we'll see how this team does. The big thing for them, I think, if they stay healthy, and if they do what they did last year, then they've got a shot to maybe fight for a wild card.
Also, folks, this is obviously just our opinions right now,
For
so
sure.
please sound off in the comments. Let us know why we are wrong about this, man. Like, I'd love to get a little bit of a friendly beef going down there about why we are wrong about this, or why, from the Texas Ranger fans out there, you guys are going to win it all. Moving on to the next team here, we're looking at the LA Angels. I don't really get it, man. I feel like people just forget every year, like walking in, like everyone's just like, oh, this year's gonna be different, it's gonna be a different year, and it's the same thing. 80.5 wins for the LA Angels. What has changed? Right now? They didn't
they had a couple guys, but that's about it.
They didn't do quite as bad as the Rangers did last year. The Rangers only won 68. They won 73, so it's not ridiculously crazy, the over-under. But still, man, I don't see why people are kind of going back onto this LA Angels train. Maybe you can convince me otherwise.
Look, you look at the roster, obviously, right? You look at that lineup. They add Brendan Drury, who's really good. They trade for a Hunter Renfroe. That adds some depth there.
Right.
If you can get anything out of Rodon, Ohtani, Trout, Ward, like that top four is probably the best in baseball when healthy, when on the field. And you got Jared Walsh down there in the 7th spot, which is kind of like underrating, just pushing him down a little bit. Like, the lineup can be very competitive. Could be top 10 in baseball when healthy, doing its thing. But year after year after year, it's the pitching, folks. Shohei Ohtani, obviously, undoubtedly one of the best players of baseball, especially with that arm. Like, projecting him at a 3.10 ERA, I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Then they go and they get Tyler Anderson this offseason, who, again, played well, but just like the Rangers pitchers, sometimes you get a Heaney that could fall apart right out of the Dodgers system.
Patrick Sandoval, I like.
I like Sandoval.
He's very nice.
Suarez, we really don't know. Detmers, we don't know. David, it's just a bunch of question marks. And again, that bullpen, I like Ryan Tepera. I like Matt Moore. I like that addition they made. But there's a lot of question marks. Aaron Loop, I like. But there's just not enough. And for me, the most important thing, like you said, is the track record.
Yeah.
An organization sometimes just cannot win. And every season we overrate them. Yeah. We always say they're going to win 80 games, and they keep falling flat.
Yeah, man. I mean, I hate to show you out on this, but I remember 20 games in the season, they were doing pretty good. And you're
I jumped on.
I'm on the train.
Because they thought this was it.
And then they collapsed again, man. And it's just every single year, right? I think it really is going to be one of those things where until I see it for a full 162, I can't possibly be in on you guys, right? You've had the guys for a while.
Yeah.
You've had the guys for a while. We thought, they made the big signing of Rendon. They went out, they got Syndergaard, right? They do this stuff. It doesn't work for some reason. And everyone is coming out here and predicting a Shohei Ohtani trade. Well, I'll tell you right now, guys, if they're around 500, he's not going to get traded. So what is it? Are they trading Shohei Ohtani and then they're going to be awful for the rest of the year? Because if they do that, I guarantee you they're not winning 81 freaking games.
Exactly. That's the big part for me. Look, I know that they said they don't want to trade Shohei Ohtani, and Shohei Ohtani's not really talking about whether he's going to get an extension or not, or where his preferred destination is in the offseason. But yeah, you're right. He's gone. The team gets injured again. It's going to be another 70-win season.
They're one big trade away from literally not even coming close to their over-under. So I don't understand why we can be possibly in on the LA Angels here, guys. I am going to sleep on them for a while until proven otherwise. Final squad that we're going to look at here is the San Francisco Giants, man. San Francisco's been kind of like sneaky good for the past 2 years. Like, I mean, not even in 2021, they were actually exceptionally good.
Right.
But last year they were, they were decent. Like, they were around, but they didn't really meet expectations.
They were literally, I think, a 500 ball club.
500 ball club. They didn't really meet expectations last year, though. Like, they were around, but they didn't do what they wanted to do. And the whole thing was, well, this offseason, they're going to get better. They're going to make the big signing.
They got money to spend.
They got money to spend.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to get the big bat, and then that's going to be the guy that's going to anchor them down for a while. And they weren't unable to do it. Now, to their credit, they were in on all the conversations. They shot their shots. They were going for Aaron Judge. They were going for Carlos Correa. They were in these talks, man. So you can't, if you're a fan, you can't say that the management didn't try. They definitely tried their best. Right. At the end of the day, they just got kind of the raw end of the stick with this. And when you look at that lineup now, without those guys, without those big signings, it feels like, it really feels like you're lacking a superstar here.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely tried to supplement that offense with a Mitch Haniger addition, but, he's been injured, on and off the field. Now he's getting up to the age 32. That you got Michael Conforto, who is a really good player, but hasn't played in a season, right? So, like, what are we going to get out of him? And the rest of the lineup, like Brandon Crawford. Now, I don't want to age these guys so fast, but he's 36 now. Yeah. Yastrzemski, he's good. 32 now, right? There's guys that are getting older, and there's no real, like you said, superstar player.
I don't see the guy who's gonna come up with the big hit for you.
All right, it's all just, and look, you could roll out a roster like this if you've got some good pitching, and their pitching isn't horrible. No, I think Logan Webb's pretty good.
Yeah, I think that their pitching is actually pretty good. It's
pretty good.
Pretty good. They sign a guy like Ross Stripling. Logan Webb is definitely good at baseball. Alex Cobb is really good at baseball. Manaea, jury's still out. He can be very good, but he's obviously coming off of a bad year last year. So I think that their pitching is okay. Obviously, though, it took a big hit because you didn't have, or you don't have Rodon anymore, right? So, you don't have Rodon, but then you bring in Manaea and Stripling. Well, is that enough of a, have you supplemented that enough? I don't know. It's close, right? So I just feel like these guys, they tried, but they couldn't quite do enough this offseason to take them over the hump. And it kind of feels like they're going to start going down a little bit.
And to be honest, guys, this is a most overrated list. But I'll be honest, Nick and I were talking before. We really were stretching to find a third team on this list. I mean, there was different names that kept coming up in conversations. But we landed on the Giants because, look, they're a mid-team last year. They look like a mid-team on paper, but with age and some injuries, they could be a lot less than a mid-team. They could really fall, especially with the Diamondbacks starting to move up in the rankings. Maybe the Diamondbacks overtake them this year.
It's not impossible, man. It's not impossible. Like, it feels like, I think the word overrated is a little harsh for the San Francisco Giants. It's definitely a little harsh. But looking at that over-under and looking what the team accomplished this offseason and kind of where their players are at, where that lineup's at, it just feels like they're going in the other direction where you have squads like the Padres, like really shooting up. And it's just getting harder and harder.
Look, if next offseason they add a couple big names, I'm gonna underrate them. I'm going to underrate them for sure because I think they have a good base of talent on this team.
And clearly they have good coaching too.
They got good coaching.
Clearly they have a good system over there to develop players and make it happen.
Yep. And so if they had a couple big stars, then I'm going to put them in. Oh, maybe they could fight for a wild card this season.
Yeah.
But just not this season. They're overrated.
I agree. Yeah. Guys, let us know in the comments down below. What do you think? Who are the most overrated teams in the MLB entering the 2023 season? We want to know.
Yeah, guys, and please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And $3 a month to become a Patreon member. Shout out, thank you to all of our current Patreon members. You guys are awesome. And shout out to all of our YouTube members. If you want to get some cool emojis and accolades, you go check out the link in the description.
Thank you so much for watching.
And go Jays, go!